I have never experienced such unconditional love in such a vulnerable moment, such a scary moment than I did with Amy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through.
Today, we have an awesome couple, Jon and Amy McLaughlin.
That's right. So I'm a big fan of Jon McLaughlin. I have been ever since I was in high school. He is a fellow Hoosier like myself. If you don't know what a Hoosier is, it is someone who was born and raised in Indiana. So I've been following Jon through his whole career, and a big fan. We actually grew up pretty close to each other. He's way cooler than I am. And Jon is a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter. He has some amazing music. We will link down below. But he has done songs with Jason Mraz, Sarah Bareilles. He's gone on tour with Kelly Clarkson. And I'm going to link a couple of my favorite songs down below. But we sit down with Jon and his wife, Amy, who now live in Nashville. Actually, we don't live too far from them as well.
Yes,
so we have a lot of connections with them. And I really enjoyed this conversation, because I just feel like these are people that we would be friends with. I hope that they consider us friends. I consider them friends and also role models, but they have 2 kids. And we cover a lot of different topics, including what it's like to raise kids and their philosophy on that. We also talk about some of Jon's more vulnerable addictions that he has shared recently publicly. And I'm grateful that he has the courage to do that. And we also have a lot of laughs. So we're excited for this episode with Jon and Amy. We're so thankful they took the time to join us.
And Jon actually has his own podcast called Dadville that he does with
Dave Barnes, who is another musician, and they interview a lot of fun people. So we'll link that down below too. But before we jump into this one, please subscribe to the show and give it a rating on whatever platform. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there. We know there's a lot of shows you could be listening to, but you chose to come and listen to us, and we're honored for that. We'll try to make sure that this next hour of your time is well worth it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll into this one with Jon and Amy McLaughlin. All right, Jon and Amy, what a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited.
So last time you and I talked, Jon was on my show, Redirected. A lot's happened since then. I think that was like last year sometime, but it's good to see you nonetheless. I do want to start off by saying I haven't seen your cappuccino. You were on a roll there with making homemade cappuccinos. It looks like that's simmered off a little bit. Are we still drinking coffee? No.
Right here, my friend.
Okay.
Wait, have you hooked him up yet?
No, I actually haven't. Now you're making me feel guilty. But.
Jon, you can't call Andrew a friend.
Oh.
Andrew has his own coffee and he hasn't sent it to you.
So this is a big day though, because this is the first interview you guys have done as a couple, if I'm understanding this correct. Yeah?
No pressure.
Thank you.
I know.
Thanks.
Well, welcome to the... Well, you rehearsed. Oh, man.
Wait, okay, so I'm going to start it off. Amy.
Yes.
It's right at you, okay? First question.
Good. Oh,
Here we go.
Heavy hitter. We always ask, how did you guys first meet? I just want to know.
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah. Or do you remember the day that you first met?
So we went to the same high school, but we are not high school sweethearts. I am
Okay.
2 years older. And
That was not my high school sweethearts. That was more hers.
Well, you know,
But keep going.
in high school, it's a big deal. It's like 2 years is like a big deal.
Yeah.
So I knew of his friends. I knew of him. He had an older sister, so I knew of Jon, but we didn't run in the same circles.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until we went to college, my 5th year, his junior year, is when we went on our first date. And that was the very, very short version. We have a very long, drawn-out version that we love to tell, but it's too long for this.
Yeah.
It'll be the whole podcast.
What does one do for a first date in Anderson, Indiana?
Oh, glad you asked.
So the school that we went to is a real small little school in Anderson University, and they do these things called roommate dates, where like if you lived in the dorm, it would be like your whole floor would go out on a roommate date, and you would invite somebody for your roommate. So it's like a big blind date.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And so long story short, I had 5 roommates at the time, and we were living in this amazing, like historic, huge house.
Victorian, it was like beautiful.
Yeah. it was actually my piano professor's house, and he went on sabbatical, and we lived in it. So we were like, we should do a roommate date in this house, and like have somebody come and cook, and we'll dress up and we'll dance, and
In
it was
campus,
amazing.
in our campus mail, they sent invitations, and the guys burned the edges of the invitations.
Wow.
What?
They went all out.
Oh, we had like house meetings for months about this, mainly just about how to burn the edges.
They
Yeah, we went all out. So that was our first date.
and we're the only ones that lasted from that roommate date. So
Oh, that's really sweet.
Wow.
Wait, I want a hand burned invitation in the mail to myself.
I've never burnt anything for Shawn, sadly.
oh
Yeah.
That's probably good. That's probably good to say that.
That can get out of hand.
yeah,
I don't want to overlook you took a 5th year in college, Amy?
I did.
Was that for Jon specifically?
Yeah, I just had a feeling that that we were gonna get together. No,
Yeah.
I played soccer, and so I took very light semesters, like minimum
Big fan of that.
to be considered full time. So
That's awesome.
my 5th year is when I buckled down and
Hmm.
found my husband and student taught.
So, when did you know you were going to marry each other?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know.
I feel like
Wow.
I knew really early on, and so early that it kind of freaked me out.
Really?
We dated 6 months, and then it was like the summer, and so he went and worked at a Young Life camp, and I went and worked at a church in Pennsylvania. And that summer, I remember like saying, "This is gonna make it or break it." And the whole
Wow.
time, I just was like, ugh, longing, like, when am I gonna see him? This is torture. Like, I just knew after that we were gonna either break up or be together.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was like a moment like, oh, when I looked into his
Mhm.
eyes, I knew at roommate date that we were gonna.
What was it about Jon? Was it his classy, messy hairstyle? Was it his boho fashion? Which
My hair used to be longer. My hair was never as long as your hair was, but
Yeah.
I used to
It
have
was too long.
baby hair.
Yeah.
Well, I think all of the girls liked him on campus, obviously. So I was
It's a
very.
real small school.
I was.
It was
It was.
small.
But I was like, I'm not gonna like him. Like, please, I'm not gonna. Every girl likes him. I'm not gonna like him. But when you're around Jon, you know how funny he is and sarcastic, and he was always been so humble. But I feel like his humility and how funny he is, I'm like, that's what I want.
Wow. How about that, Jon? How about that, man?
Wait, so you guys dated?
So far.
So you guys dated for 6 months before you got engaged?
Oh no.
No,
Okay.
we dated for a little over 2 years before
Awesome.
we got engaged.
But that's
Can we?
I kind of knew, like, okay.
What about the proposal story? Anything cool there to know?
Wow, Jon, it's a freaking proposal. It's all cool, Shawn.
I
the whole
mean,
thing is cool.
We've had people propose on airplanes with foil rings. We've had people do like basically a scene out of The Notebook. I mean, you never know.
We had Tim. Have you heard Tim Tebow's engagement story? Don't even.
Just nobody needs. I mean, everybody should. It should just be turned into a Lifetime movie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like that.
So now that that's the stage for your proposal story, Jon, let's hear it.
You know what's funny? We got into a huge fight on our engagement. It was
Oh my gosh.
kind of
It
the
was
opposite.
one of the biggest fights. It could have.
Yes. I need to hear this.
No, John's so good though at the end. So we went back to the house for the roommate date, and he
Okay.
all he reenacted
Yeah.
all of it, and he turned
That's amazing.
it into, we're gonna fight in life and we're gonna make up, and I'm like, yes, we are gonna fight and we are gonna make up. So it was perfect.
Yeah, did
But
Tim Tebow do that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was this fight about? If you don't mind me
No,
asking.
why you got this? Okay, go ahead.
So we went. So I knew I had the ring. I've been planning this for a long time. I had the ring. I knew I was going to propose to her at the house later that night. And at the time, all my roommates were gonna like help. They were gonna like go and light all the candles and then leave, and we were gonna get there. So I let her plan the night.
Because it was our anniversary.
It was our anniversary, of dating. So I was like, that's a great way to like throw her off of thinking anything's gonna happen. Let her plan the night. Because I figured in some way I'll figure out how to get back to the house. Yeah. So we went down to Indianapolis. Where did we go? Ruth's Chris?
Yeah.
We went downtown Indianapolis, went to Ruth's Chris, got a nice dinner, and
but leading up to it, I'm like, I'm in college. This is my gift. We're going to the steakhouse. We've never been. John loves steak, so I'm thinking I didn't buy him a shirt. The gift is a steak. Like we're having like a
right.
This is it.
Right.
the steak dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get there and he orders fettuccine Alfredo.
And I don't remember exactly why. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love fettuccine Alfredo.
You do.
But I don't remember why I don't know if I was like trying to save her money or something. Maybe I'm thinking we're about to be married. Her money's my money. We need to start saving it. I ordered fettuccine Alfredo, and there are some layers underneath there, surely, but we
thought about that, and then we recovered, and then
that's right.
We had another goal.
Oh man! Wow, this is great.
Right.
Yeah, we recovered, and then we were talking about like our relationship.
Oh no!
It's our anniversary of dating. We're reflecting. How can we be better? And I forget what I was saying, but I remember saying, like tonight when I ordered the fettuccine Alfredo.
No.
It was like
Too soon.
And then it was like we were in a huge fight. I didn't talk the rest of the way to the car. Didn't talk on the way home.
I'm sitting like this, looking out the window, like so mad.
And I'm thinking, like, are we gonna break up?
Over fettuccine Alfredo?
You're driving back to the proposal. You're like, should I still do this?
Right.
Does she want this?
Yeah, and I'm like driving and thinking, like, should I text them and say, hey, good night? You know, I don't know. So we just went for it.
We went for it. We have a great story now.
Yeah.
Oh, if it makes you feel any better, we got in a huge fight today. He proposed as well. Because he was acting so weird, and I had like a work event that he came to visit.
Yeah.
And so I was with like my employers and my boss, and he was being like so distant. They would try talking to him and he didn't talk back. He was like texting, and I was like, who are you texting? Who's so important to like whatever. We got in a huge fight.
Okay, good.
No, I don't know how you felt. I wasn't like over the moon excited. I was definitely like pumped up to be engaged, but I wasn't like in a necessarily good mood, you would say. I was just so nervous, and like in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening.
Sure.
And I feel that way kind of about the wedding too. It's like it's so charged and there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was. Yeah, it definitely wasn't like the best day of my life. Like I
It's
don't
the
remember.
stress.
I don't know about you guys. We talk about this a lot, but I wish so badly we could go back and redo our wedding now. When you're like comfortable in your marriage and your relationship, and you're like just want to party and have fun.
And you
because
understand it,
yeah, because I feel like the person I was at my wedding, I didn't understand anything. Like he's almost a stranger when you look back at it, and you're like, I don't know. We cared so much about things that you shouldn't care anything about.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Couple Things is brought to you by Butcher Box. Babe, what are we having for dinner tonight?
I feel like you already know the answer to that.
I do. Our Butcher Box got here today.
Yes.
So I'm going to fire up the grill, and we're going to make some fire burgers.
It's so good. And I love that Butcher Box is 100% grass-fed and pasture-raised beef. It's always great tasting, high-quality meat you can feel good about, delivered right to your doorstep, which I love as a mom.
Plus, I love that Butcher Box is also very flexible. We can always change what comes in our box and how often it gets delivered. Plus, we can cancel anytime with no penalty.
And they ship your order frozen at the peak freshness and packed in eco-friendly 100% recyclable box. And if you want to grill up some burgers soon, they've created a special offer just for Couple Things listeners.
That's right. You can get ground beef for life. New members will get 2 pounds of ground beef in every order for the lifetime of your membership. Plus, shipping is always free. Just visit butcherbox.com/couple to claim your offer now. You won't be disappointed. ButcherBox is super thoughtful about where and from who they get their meat. They're very concerned about animal health, farmer health, and the health of the planet. So I'm a big fan of this company. I think you would be too if you tried it out. We'll link it down below. Let's get back to it. When we were going back and forth before the show, Amy, you said you're a big fan of marriage. Why? It's pretty broad, open-ended question, but why do you like marriage?
Well, I think it started young. I was always boy crazy. So I always loved relationships and I love my girlfriends. I love what you learn about yourself and other people and friendships and all that. So I feel like marriage is just that magnified. I just feel like I love what it brings out in us. I feel like we both feel the same. We both love talking about marriage. We both love wanting a good marriage. I feel like we just, when we got married, everyone was like, oh, it's going to be so hard. And it is, there are times where it's so hard, but overall, I feel like we love it. We've always loved it. Having kids was hard, but I feel like marriage has kind of been easy, especially in the beginning. I mean, we have times now where I feel like it's hard, but my parents had a great marriage. I loved watching that. And so I think, I don't know, I was just excited to be a wife and to have kids, all of that. So I don't know. I think part of it's my personality and part of it, he makes marriage fun. He makes marriage good. I feel like we have a great marriage because of him. And I don't know. I could go on and on about marriage, but.
John, I know you're the songwriter, but I think Amy's probably more romantic than you are based off how this show has gone. But you guys been married, what, 8, 9 years?
We're coming up on 15.
Wait, what? I thought it was 2011 you got married. 15.
15, guys. Yeah.
Wait, and
that's awesome.
You said it was easy starting out, but it's gotten harder.
Well,
so okay.
It gets harder and harder as the day
goes on. Okay, great. Now we're optimistic. Okay.
I don't think it's harder. I think having
kids changes.
Kids
I mean, you guys
it.
know.
I mean, we were married 7 years before we had kids, so it was very. I don't know. You can do what you want. You can.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so kids, we're snippier with each other, or
That's the truth right there.
Well, we actually did a podcast on that where we feel like when you have a kid, it changes who you are. It changes your purpose, how you go about everyday life, what you wear, how you act, what your hobbies are. It's almost like you have to restart dating and get remarried almost, and then at the same time become a parent.
Right.
It's just, it's all new dynamics.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and they say, you what's that saying? Like through the course of a marriage, you're going to be married to several different people, and you hope it's the same person or whatever. There's some phrase like that.
Yeah.
And it's definitely true. Like you were saying, Shawn, when you think about your wedding day, I mean, that was 14 and a half years ago. I feel like we barely knew each other back then. How much we know each other now. So yeah, and I feel like Amy is just really, and anyone who knows Amy would say this, Amy is so good at relationships. She's always has been, and she's just the greatest listener, and I'm always amazed at how she can just kind of speak anyone's language a little bit, and also genuinely cares about what the other person is going through and saying, and will remember things. And sometimes I feel like me at my best, I'm rating myself. I'm I'm being a really good listener right now. And then I can't remember anything that was happening because the whole time I was just thinking about how I'm performing as a listener. Amy,
that's hilarious.
You even asked her that. Oh, that has gotten harder. That has gotten harder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotten harder.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I would say that I would say it was harder in the beginning of marriage and then it got easier, but kids, and then kids was just that same arc over again.
Mm-hmm.
When we had kids, it was really hard when they're younger. And now I feel like it's getting
Easier.
easier.
They're
Wow.
cool. We can sleep through the night.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry if they're putting things in their mouth all the time. Like we can talk and they're upstairs playing. I feel like I can't believe we're in this stage of life now because it, at the beginning it's so draining. It is the best thing, but it's so all consuming and
Yeah.
So I feel like and everyone says like, oh, the early elementary years are like the golden years, and we're like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand what they're saying. Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we have a 1-year-old, so we get that. Yes.
you
guys are in the thick of it.
You are in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
No,
wonderful, but it's hard. It's exhausting.
I thought the first 4 months were like, it's just brutal. I would do like morning workouts. The morning workouts we did in college football were like the worst, but I would do a whole lifetime of those instead of like, it's just brutal. But Amy,
instead of the first 4 months
is
with your kid.
brutal.
Oh my God. He's
He's
like, I work out for the rest of my life not to go through the first 4 months again.
Anyway, I don't know. Amy, one thing that John said when we spoke earlier that really I've thought about multiple times since is I asked him how he approaches parenting because, your guys' lifestyle is traveling and there's a lot of kind of demands outside the home. And he said, you welcome the kids into your world, not you into theirs. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think how I can go deeper into it besides just that. I think we still go to the restaurants we want to go to, or we won't, and we'll do takeout because it's not worth it to. It's going to be awful.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like we did a little bit at the beginning of like, no, we're going to have a baby-wise schedule. Like we're going to like at 7, they go to bed every night or, so some of that changed a little bit. But I would say, I feel like we want to go to Australia. We're going to take our kids to see our best friends there. Like, and we would get on the plane and we would say, this is going to be the worst 24 hours of our life. What we say to each other doesn't count. We are just going to get through it. And we are just going to, I feel like we know traveling with kids can be hard, but it's really just going to be hard for a little bit. And we're going to get there. We're both kind of laid back. John is wanting to help. John, like he's so hands-on. Having a partner like that, I feel like you can do your normal life if you're both kind of like, I got this, you got this.
Yeah.
Did I answer your
And
question?
someone had told us that, I feel like before, who had kids. And I think we would say like, you can't fully do that. Like you're going to change. Like if you do that to the fullest degree, it is unhealthy. So like you're saying, we don't do everything that we would like to do because you just can't. It's just not worth it. We're not going to be able to go to, like we were going to take the girls on the road for a couple weeks and we got really close and we decided to just bail on it because we're like, it's either going to be the best 2 weeks of our life or the worst.
And it's not worth the 50-50 gamble.
And it's expensive.
It's super expensive.
Yeah.
So there have been some things that we haven't been able to do for sure. But for the most part, we try to bring them into our world.
Well, the reason I want to talk about it, and Amy, it sounds like it's just kind of like how you guys, it's not even a second thought really. But for us, I feel like we've struggled with it just because it's like, should we go to we barely go to the grocery store because it's like, it's just more of a hassle. Like, let's just like, eat whatever we already have in the pantry. I've already experienced the flip side of what your guys' style is, which is, all right, it's just in a lot of ways easier to cater to what they need and not to what is probably better for us in the long term. So I admire that.
I think right before you have kids, you're always taking in so much information from other people, asking them what to do and what not to do. And you always have so many people who are like, oh, your life is over.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to go to your favorite restaurants. You're not going to be able to do all these things. And it's just a lifestyle choice. And I like that you guys chose that, because I think it's a really encouraging thing for a lot of people to hear.
And again, I'll praise John again, because he is much better than I am. Like, I am like what you're saying with the grocery store. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, it stresses me out. I would rather wait to go until John's home to watch them, and then I can go. This is when they're littler, because they were not just the sweet little baby, like in the cart just looking around. They were like scream. I was sweating and it was stressful.
Yeah, our kids were not easy.
Yeah, and so John, though, I feel like you are like, I will take them. Even now when he plays tennis, he's like, I'll take them with me and we can sit and watch. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't be able to relax. I wouldn't be able to fully enjoy something. So he's really good at being like, no, I'll put them in the carrier. I'll put, the baby in there and Luca in front, and we'll do the grocery store. And I'm like, why would you do that? Just leave him with me. And he's like, I can do it. I don't know if it's like I can do it, and so I'm doing it, or if it's like.
I mean, I think it's a couple things. One, I do think there's a little bit of that in me. Like, I can do this. I want to go play tennis, so they will come with me, or whatever. Like, it could be seen as selfish. Like, rather than not play tennis, I'm going to bring them with me, and they're just going to go. But I also think our kids are easier with me. When they were littler, they just didn't need me as much as they needed Amy. We talk about this on Dave and my podcast.
Yeah.
The kids just don't, like, when they were around Amy when they were smaller, they just almost couldn't help themselves. Like, if Amy wasn't holding them, they were freaking out. They're not like that with me. You know what I mean? Like, if it's just me and Amy's not home and not an option, they're so much easier, because they're like, we don't really, I mean, we can hang with you or not. We're a little more indifferent to hanging with dad. If mom's home, we need to be with mom, So they're a little bit easier to manage with me, I have found. And I think that's been true of a lot of other dads that I've talked to.
Yeah, we saw some stat that it was like, kids are like 80 or like 800 times more likely to be worse around the mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because they know we'll do whatever they want.
Oh, man. A couple things is also brought to you by BetterHelp. We've talked about the importance of counseling and therapy on this podcast, so I'm really excited to talk about this company, BetterHelp.
Same. Not only are more people talking about therapy, I love that companies like BetterHelp are making counseling accessible to everyone.
That's right. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can start communicating within 48 hours.
And since the service is all online, it's available worldwide. You can log into your account and message your therapist anytime. You'll get timely responses, or you can even schedule weekly video or phone sessions.
It's amazing. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, and so it's free and easy to change counselors if you need.
I love that BetterHelp is sponsoring Couple Things. Therapy was a huge pivotal moment in my life.
It's amazing that they're making it so easy and accessible for people worldwide.
Yes. Visit betterhelp.com/EastFam and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Get started today and enjoy 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/EastFam.
We'll also link that down below.
How did your guys' dynamic change within your marriage before you had kids and then after?
I thought we were both laid back, and I feel like John's not as laid back as I thought he was.
Well, I think that, like, kids just brings life to a new level of intensity. So it's kind of like whatever is there. I think this is the same for a marriage. Whatever is there in that relationship, you get married, it's just going to intensify whatever's there. I kind of feel like it's the same for us, and like in our existing marriage, when you have kids, it's going to bring stuff to the surface. And I have a real kind of OCD tidiness, cleanliness thing. and it comes out in stress.
So I'm like, oh, he's mad cleaning right now.
Thank you, Amy. Shawn does the same thing. I'm like, what are you mad about? And she's obviously stressed out of it. And she's like, nothing. Let me do the dishes.
I'm doing it before I even realize I'm doing it.
Yeah, same.
I am instantly just cleaning, and now I can be like, you're stressed about something. You're like, you're cleaning the underside of the cabinet. What's happening?
Yeah.
You know,
I actually found myself the other day. I was sitting like on the floor next to our kitchen island, scrubbing the cabinets, like doors.
Yeah.
And I recognized it. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. What am I stressed about? What am I
Yeah.
So I was like, Shawn, I think it's best if we just take some time apart and we'll cool off. There was no argument yet. It was just like, we're gonna need some time apart. I could already tell.
Yeah,
So
I'm like, we're gonna have a conversation. And I'll say like, are you upset about something, or do you want to? And he'll say no for a while, and then
I'll say no for like a month and a half.
Yeah. And then we'll come back a month and a half later and be like, oh, actually, this was actually going on.
yeah.
Right.
So I didn't notice that before kids. I didn't notice the stress cleaning. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that stuff. I'm trying to think, what else do you think that has changed?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways our relationship, our dynamics have kind of stayed the same, you know. But that is an example of something that is kind of like, it was always there, but it's just brought to the surface.
yeah, I like what you said about the intensity. I think that's, from my experience so far, pretty true. Jon, I am curious, on your Instagram or Facebook, you posted Dax Shepard's Day 7 podcast. Yep. You said you connected with it really well. And I was just curious to hear more about why that hit you like it did.
Man, it was, I mean, for anyone who's listening who hasn't listened to it, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know that it will resonate with everybody, but it really, I was on the road, I was in Philadelphia, and I was just walking around the streets of Philadelphia listening to that podcast with like tears in my eyes. It was such a honest, just amazing, vulnerable, you know, confession. And for me, the reason why I kind of resonated with that is I don't have an addiction to alcohol or anything like that, but I've experienced addiction to pornography, and it's been something that, you know, I brought into our relationship 17 years ago and had been dealing with, you know, years and years and years before that. And we reached a point, this would have been 4.5 years ago now, where I kind of had that moment that Dax had the other day with Amy. And so I think that's why it hit me so hard, because that I have never experienced such unconditional love in such a vulnerable moment, such a scary moment. And then I did it with Amy that day in April 2016. And so it was cool to hear him confessing that. And you know, like for me, I'm like, I hope he receives the love that I received, you know, so.
You're saying that unconditional love you felt from Amy?
Yeah.
Wow. I got chills. It is like, Amy, I would love to hear how you were motivated from that. But people, I feel like self-improvement is such a buzzword or like industry now. And I always say nothing will make you better or more refined than marriage. Like every day you have to wake up and deal with the problems, but you also, because like you're confronted with the same, oh, Andrew didn't close the cabinets. Andrew didn't close the cabinets. Like how is Shawn going to deal with that? And so you've learned how to approach that issue, but then you also get the affirmation of the person who knows you the best of anybody on the planet. And so there's something really, really amazing about that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think too, there's something really cool in relationships, in marriage, just like the deeper relationship of society likes to tell us that people can't change. And I think that's wrong because you change and evolve every single day as a spouse.
Right.
And you're challenged every day by your spouse to be better.
Right.
So I think it's cool to hear stories. We've heard a ton of stories over the past year from other couples of just the affirmation of spouses to be better and to challenge each other to change and work on things and work through things. And I think that's just, it's inspiring.
How did you approach that though, Amy?
Well, I think, we kind of talked about it in our whole relationship. And so I think, as a woman, maybe you just don't know at first until you, walk through that or just know about it. I think so for the first 10 years or 12 years, I think we talked about it, and I'm trying to understand guys and girls are different and what does it look like to be a man and, all of that stuff that, and again, that I love learning about. And I feel like, okay, I think I get it. I think,
but it's a subject that is so
taboo,
not talked about.
No one wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like I thought we were having a good, healthy, conversation about it. And I think that moment in April, I think before I would get real mad, and I feel so silly. And, at the beginning, you cheated on me, I had those feelings. And as the years have gone by, I'm like, I feel that zero. And I more feel like this is something that Jon is shameful of. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to do this. I more come out of empathy and compassion. And I don't feel so oh, this is about me. And, I'm trying to look at it as I'm so proud of him for telling me. And I'm so proud of him for bringing it to the light, because I feel like when it's in the dark, that's when it gets icky and gross. And so I feel like, and again, Jon's the best husband in the world. He so when he's so upset about himself, I'm like, please, we all have things. We all, have things that we're shameful of and that I could be better, and you accept me for who I am. And I think my biggest thing in all of this and marriages, and it might not be the same for you, but for us, I'm like, I just want it to be in the light so it doesn't get dark. And I love you no matter what. You have such a good heart. You are telling me. I mean, there's never a time where I'm finding something. He comes to me and he says, hey, I got to tell you something. I'm not proud of this is what happened. And I'm like, I'm so thankful. I'm thankful I have a husband who wants to be better for himself and for our marriage. And, so I hope that I've just come at it as great, this is something that you've dealt with your whole life. I'm watching you. I feel bad that this is such a shameful thing you have to talk about. I think no less of you. I love you. I love your heart. You're all the good things. And this is just something you're getting caught up on,
Wow.
I like
Sorry,
that.
that's a lot. Sorry.
No, that's amazing.
No, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. I hope a lot of people can hear that and just know that is truly marriage.
Yeah, it is.
And
it is that.
we talk about this so much on here of people, the world is trying to paint marriage as oh, you said this one thing and oh, our marriage is over. It's not going to work. We're leaving. And I think hearing these stories from people of working through conflict and problems is beautiful. That's what it should be. Because you learn to love someone so much more as soon as you work through it, which is so cool.
Sure.
You do.
But a big component of that is it took you 10 years, Amy, to switch your approach, it sounded like, right? Kind of.
I think it was before that.
Okay.
I think it was a gradual evolution, but it wasn't this was the topic of conversation day in and day out for 10 years.
Yeah.
When you have other people who go through it, you kind of talk about it and when it's brought up. But he remembers before we started dating or something, I had made a comment that I would never want to marry someone who struggled with pornography. I don't remember saying that. I believe I said that. Again, I went to a small Christian school. That is what, I didn't know. I wasn't married to a guy. I didn't know anything. So I said something so stupid and insensitive way back then, but I think John's guard then went like, she can never know this. When really, again, the beauty of marriage is the longer you're together, the more like those layers come off and, and I love the layers. I am like, I just want it to be real and deep. I want all that. I want it to be like.
Which goes back to what we were saying. Same with us and me personally. I want to go back to the day we got married and be like, you know nothing. Like, right. We went to a friend's wedding a few months ago and kind of laughed and we were just giggling to ourselves. Like, oh, this is so cute. Like, I wish they just knew like how much they'll actually love each other years down the road.
Yeah. And I love going to weddings. I feel like weddings are almost more for the couples like us who are and sitting in the congregation than they are. It's like we love going to weddings and just kind of renewing the whole thing.
It's so fun. So cool. A couple things is sponsored by one of my favorite companies, Athletic Greens. It's part of our everyday routine.
That's right. We wake up, make a shake. I do at least.
Yes.
Have a coffee.
Yes.
And then we get out a cup for Athletic Greens. We just mix the powder in and it's easy as that.
It's great for balancing out your health. And trust me, I have tried all of the green powders in my day, especially in my career when I was training. They all taste gross, but this one tastes good.
It's so good, and one tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients, including a multivitamin, multimineral, probiotic, green superfood blend, and more that all work together to fill in the nutritional gaps in your diet. They increase your energy and focus and aid with digestion and supports a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products. Did you hear all the things I just listed? That's a lot.
We actually got to talk to the founder and learn more about this company, and we are obsessed. Anyways, right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system during the winter months. They are offering Couple Things listeners a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs of the greens with your first purchase if you visit my link today. You'll basically never have to buy vitamin D again.
So whether you're looking for peak performance or better health, covering your bases with Athletic Greens makes investing in your energy, immunity, and gut health each day simple, tasty, and efficient.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and join health experts, athletes, and health conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day. Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today.
It's so good. It's so easy. And I'm so glad we've been doing this. We'll also link it down below. Let's get back to it. So you guys, we were talking about kids. You have 2 kids, Luca and Liv. Yep. And you recently, John, have started a podcast with your friend Dave Barnes, who you mentioned before. What was the inspiration behind Dadville?
So Dave and I have been friends for almost 20 years now. It's been a long time, and we live right across the street from them. They have 3 kids. We have 2 kids. We just almost like coexist together. So it's like Dave one day was just like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a podcast called Dadville. Do you want to do it with me? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like just our conversations that we already have. Let's just record them, and it's been awesome. I've absolutely loved it.
That's great. You also have, you did a cooking series on your Facebook page with your girls. So this is, Shawn and I get asked this all the time of like, hey, how do you feel about putting your kids on social media? Yeah. How do you guys approach that?
If I could go back before I posted a single picture of Luca, I don't know. It's interesting to think about because I don't know if I feel like we had Luca and I was just so excited. I just had to tell the world. And I don't know if, I don't know how I feel about it. Right. We have friends who don't post pictures of their kids, and we have friends, or obviously like I post cooking shows with my kids all the time, so
Right.
We don't know if we're doing it right.
yeah, I don't know if I'm doing it right,
So we have a 1-year-old. You guys have not 9 and
5.
So you guys are a couple steps ahead of us. Has there been any effect of social media, your social media, in their lives? I'm just curious so I can learn from those who've gone before me.
No, I mean, the only thing is they know that like Liv will get recognized from people, like people know it's Liv from the cooking show, and it's mainly Liv and I, because we would do it when Luca was at school. And so sometimes when we're out, somebody will say something to Livy about the cooking show, and Luca's like, well, I want to be on the cooking show.
Worry about, like, is she feeling left out from that?
Jealousy.
They don't really know what Instagram is. They don't know any of that. They know what kids' YouTube is, and they know, but they don't know like any sort of, did someone like the picture that we were on? They don't know that yet.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I don't want them to have social media ever.
Obviously, watching this Social Dilemma, we're like, nope.
Yeah, we're like,
oh my gosh, we almost threw our phones out the window.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're like, high school or college, you're good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like grad school, I'm thinking maybe.
Yes. Parenting is scary. You guys have.
Wait. Dadville podcast. You've gotten to talk to some awesome guests. Drew Holcomb was one of our favorite. He shared some unbelievable wisdom, him and Ellie. Talked to him. Talked to Ted Danson. You've talked to Andy Grammer. Who's been your, well, this isn't a fair question, but who would, for new listeners checking out your show, where would you direct them? What episode? I know it's tough.
Do what you said to Emily, like, if you want.
Yeah, so we just had a friend who asked this question. She hadn't listened to any of them. I mean, all the interviews have been great.
Good
but there's one that we did with a professional, like, counselor,
and children, child psychology or something.
Stephen James, and that one was, I think I've got more comments about that episode than any other one, because it was just, it's like an expert on the podcast talking about constructive, helpful things
as a parent.
That were really, really interesting. And I don't know, it's too hard to say. I mean, all the guests were awesome. Andy Grammer is he's like one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He's like the most joyful person I've ever met.
Wow.
So that was a great conversation.
That's a good compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for you guys. We ask every couple.
Oh, goody.
Fun little activity. You have to choose who goes first without knowing the questions.
John.
We're going to have to do a compilation one of these days of just little clips of who chooses, because it's always funny how people do it. Okay, John, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to Amy?
You know what I'm going to say.
Oh, there are many. Think of your most.
I would probably say Amy is not.
Watch how you say it.
I love you so much. Amy is so beautiful. She has a hard time pushing in the drawers because of her beauty.
Yeah.
So.
How you said that is perfect.
That's freaking hilarious.
Amy, what is your biggest pet peeve with John?
That John cares so much about the drawers being pushed in.
This is our marriage right here.
Put it in a compliment, though. You didn't really do that.
Because you're so handsome. You care so much about those. But I feel like sometimes his OCD, and I'm not taking it away. I'm not the best at shutting doors. But I think I get annoyed that he cares about that stuff.
Preach, Amy.
That is literally our
Jon
marriage
and Shawn
right here.
are very similar. Amy and I, very similar.
I'm just like, Andrew, can you just like maybe shut a cabinet door? It like doesn't take any effort.
So
Just
you're
be like,
saying
"Shh."
you've been married 11 more years than us, and this issue
still an
is
issue.
not going away.
Just buckle up,
Okay.
guys. It's
Okay. Great. So you'll still be keeping the cabinet doors open in 11 years.
That's
Awesome.
freaking great.
Amy, you have to go first this time.
Okay.
What is the thing you love the most about Jon?
Oh gosh.
To be fair, you've shared a lot already.
Yeah, you have.
I
So-
love him so much. He's so great. The most. I think he is just so good at making me feel like I'm the best person. You know, he's so good at complimenting me. He's so good about doing things for me. You know, I truly feel like I'm the luckiest that I get to have him. You know, it's like I had no idea back then that, oh yeah, everyone thinks he's good looking, but it's like, no. He's not just good looking. He's like truly selfless, truly funny, truly everything, you know, besides the OCD thing. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think I answered it just that, but I feel like there's
No.
stuff that makes him, I think he wants to be a good husband. And so like, I always say like, find someone who wants to be a good husband, like who wants that. Because I don't think every guy wants that. I don't think, I think some people, and women, I think people just get married to get married. I think Jon wants to be a good husband. And I still feel that 11, 15 years after. I don't want to say 11.
That's a pretty good compliment.
It's a great compliment. Okay, Jon, what do you love the most about Amy?
This is impossible. I don't know if this is the most, and this is one of those questions where, of course, for the rest of the day, I'm gonna be thinking of other things that I could have said, but I just think Amy has like a selfless, like her version of love is so selfless, and I don't think everyone's version is that way. You know, I think that she said earlier, we have a great marriage, and she attributes a lot of that to me. I feel the exact same way toward her. Like, I feel like whenever people are talking about marriage being hard, and marriage can be hard, I don't mean to, discount that, but I always think being married to Amy is so easy. I feel like she shows me how much she loves me in such a selfless way. So, and also 9,000 other things.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys. Now I feel all warm and cozy inside. Well, we're thankful to get to know you both. Thank you for doing your first couples interview on Couple Things.
Thank you.
I loved it. It's so fun. I love that you guys have this.
I know.
Truly, it's really
Thank
great
you.
conversations that you guys are having.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists.
Me too.
Well, we
And
appreciate that.
And I want to interview you guys to know all these things about you.
Yeah. This conversation is
Anytime.
very lopsided.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
Yes.
I didn't know Jon played tennis like he does. Do you play pong as well, Jon?
If by pong you mean ping pong?
Pong.
He takes it seriously, so
Yeah,
he calls it pong.
I'm just trying to think of all the other pongs, and I realize there are some. But go. Do you ping pong?
I'm a less than average ping pong player.
Okay.
Amy can school me at ping pong. So
Well, then maybe we have you over for some couples ping pong
there we go. There we go.
and
Yes.
cappuccinos. Yeah, I was just thinking. Anyway, thanks for the time, guys. This is fun.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.